What's going on, guys? Christian here from CK Wraps. So today we're going to be wrapping the interior of this Audi S8 in Hexus titanium chrome. I've done a whole bunch of it already. I thought I'd do a couple of how-to videos so you guys can see how it's done. Now don't forget to check out my new website, ckwraps.com. I'll put a link in the top corner and in the description below for you. I have an exclusive premium membership set up for you guys, 4K videos, chat board, you can ask me questions, all kinds of wicked stuff on there. Check it out. Again, link in the description below. Now, what we need to do here is, or what we're doing here is really working on our precision cutting, okay? This is very, very precise stuff, okay? We don't want to make a mistake. We have to really take our time, and we find a way to fit our blade in between all of the teeny tiny cracks and crevices that there are. Between this silver trim and stuff like that. Now this car has a beautiful carbon fiber interior. It's being wrapped over with the chrome to match the exterior. The exterior of this car is wrapped in the same chrome. Actually looks pretty amazing. I've done the back and the front and it's nearly done, but we'll do a couple more videos on how to do this kind of stuff. First of all, you're going to want to clean off the actual surface with 70% isopropyl alcohol. It's very important to make sure this is all nice and clean. People use Armor All and cleaners on these types of plastics, and they can tend to stick to it. So you want to make sure everything's nice and clean so that we get full bond with the material. We don't want to have the material lifting up or anything like that down the road. Some pieces can be pretty complex. This center console here is actually, as they did it in carbon fiber, they did it with seams actually. So we did seams over the seams where the carbon fiber was seamed. Makes sense, right? Because you can actually see the line when you overlay the film over top of the seamed carbon fiber. Well, we want to just do a seam there anyways because it makes life a lot easier. It also maintains the finish of the film a lot better on top of that, because if we stretch the vinyl too much, it's going to distort. Now this piece that we're going to be doing right here right now is this dash piece right across the front here. I've also done around the vent. We're doing the door panels and all that stuff, back of the seat, those fun things. I'll take you for a tour around the car once it's all finished up. Interior is wiped. I've also wiped off the dash right here and make sure nothing is dragged in from this area. So when we remove the release line or the backing paper, it creates static. It's going to draw in particles. Could draw particles out of the vent and stuff like that too. So I want to make sure we're not drawing in anything as far as contamination goes. I've also done an inlay over here on the end cap because it's too hard to stretch the film around with chrome. With any other brand or any other type of finish, most likely I could have done it. The chrome will not allow me to do it. I tried it already on the other side. So we're going to size this piece up. It's pretty long. We're going to cut off some excess, and then we're going to get to it. So a couple of tricky parts here. Working around stuff that's sticking out, like this little quattro thing. These beveled edges right here around the vents are all sticking up slightly. It's not detrimental to making this a lot more difficult. It does make it a little bit more difficult, but we'll be fine. Now, again, I've already wiped the panel off. I'm going to remove the protective cap on this. I don't necessarily have to. It just helps with the pliability of the film. But you know what? I'll actually just lay it with it on, because this is actually pretty flat as far as the piece goes, and it will minimize scratching. So we're going to get our general placement here. We're going to hope that we're good. Yes, it looks good. You can see the protective cap has been butchered as far as how scratched up it is. So it has been doing its job in protecting the actual film. And what I want to do here is pull this tight across the actual panel. This film is very sticky, so that's one thing to keep in mind. So I'm going to start pulling this film tight, and just so it's snug, not overly tight. Right here, we have a little vent thing sticking out, so what I'm going to actually do is trim around this right now, see where it is, and have it so that the film falls down and around this area. It helps a lot, as opposed to having the vent sticking out, the vent lever, whatever you want to call it, sticking out, and raising the film up. Now we've just allowed the film to sit nice and flat. The rest of this is actually pretty straightforward when we do this. There's the other vent there. I'm going to zoom in with the camera so you can see a lot better. Let's do it. So I've got most of the film down. When I get more of it down, we can actually then remove the protective cap. I'm going to do a relief cut right here. I don't know if you can see it, because I can only hold the camera in certain angles by myself. Can't actually hold it myself and do this at the same time. So you're limited to better views. If you want better views, you will have to go onto my website, because I actually have a camera guy with a fantastic camera and great skills in using his camera. Cool, so I have, again, the little protrusion here sticking out as far as the little knob goes. So we're going to take this off just real quick, pull it back. I'm going to cut around it, so I'm going to mark it, and I just want to cut around this area. Poke through. That's going to allow the film to sit nicely in that area also. Pull it tight. Now very soon I'm going to be removing the cap. I'm going to find the bottom edge here. Cool, as soon as I've done most of the laying of the large area. Before I tuck anything, I want to remove the cap. So right about now is when I'm going to remove the cap. To remove this cap, it's a little bit tricky. I got an edge here already, but you can use a little bit of tape or something, it does help. So I'm going to remove it. It's coming off obviously in pieces because it ripped there because I cut the vinyl. Now we're going to press down, make things nice and tight. We're going to need obviously a squeegee and a tucking tool and stuff like that to make sure we've got everything sitting really tight to the edges. Let's get off the rest of this protective cap here. There we go. There we go. So again, very precise cutting is going to be required to do this. I'm going to try to lay the film into these tiny little cracks the best that I can. Let's pull up from the bottom. This film is extremely sticky. Now, how long will this last in the interior? Well, I gave no guarantees. I honestly don't know. I have never used Hexus chrome in an interior before. So as far as durability goes, this is untested. The main thing here would be to make sure it's very clean. Of course, you know, like I said, people use cleaning products and things like that, and that can have a large impact on how long the vinyl will adhere for. Cool. That's looking pretty good. This is looking pretty good. Let's get this bit down over here. Always just really trying to find those edges, guys. The difficult part about interior is sometimes just being able to reach certain areas, okay? Now this film, as far as finish goes, does get glue lines in it if you leave it sitting under tension for too long. It will get glue lines in it. Right now we're going to start tucking in the top. Use the buffer side first, especially with the chrome. And then I'll be able to tuck in with the hard edge of the squeegee once I feel like if I end up doing any damage, it won't be seen, it'll be tucked away. It tucks in actually really nicely there. I laid it pretty close. So let's go in a little bit further. Looks pretty. Let's do some cutting. I'm going to start right down here in this corner, very, very close. Now there are gaps There are very, very, very tight gaps. We just got to take our time. And having the sharpest blade possible is super important. This is precision cutting at a very high level. I don't know if it's the highest level, but at a very high level. So this film tears very easily. Have to be careful of that. Beautiful. Let's keep going around. Take my time coming around these bends and stuff. Now you'll find me putting my body in a position that makes sense. You'll see me starting my cuts in certain areas just because it feels better. Drawing my blade in certain ways towards myself, for the most part, is what I find works best for stability. And then also, again, having that super sharp blade is very important. So this is a bit of an awkward cut. I'm always pushing through first to make sure I'm finding that sweet little gap. Let's come up and around. Make sure this is all cut all the way through. Okay, let's go from the bottom here. Been looking forward to doing this piece because it's really going to start tying the interior in very well with the rest that I've done. Let's come up around the corner here. Now, I can't really get on the other side because the steering wheel is in my way and they're going to make the cut very awkward, so I'm going to have to cut from this side. It's coming along though. The blade glides effortlessly once we find that nice little spot. So I have to tuck a little bit more in this corner. This is probably the spot you can't see very much of right now. I'm always checking my cuts. I'm checking my coverage 150%. Always. We want to make sure that we're getting all the coverage before we cut. Oh, that can come away. You start seeing it take shape. This can probably come out. Awesome. We'll work around the Audi logo in a bit. Cut out all this in a second. Let's finish up the top here. Get my tucking tool in there. Let's just see. This is a very, very awkward cut, so I'm going to take my time. Lovely. I can actually probably cut out this entire top section right now so you can see. There's a really nice space in there where I can just glide my blade. And then it changed. And then it went back to tight again. So what I want to do is I'm going to pull this out. Take your time, be cautious when you're removing the film. And the gap changed here because this piece is actually, this moves. That's why it changed. Let's get this little tab finished up here on this end, and we can start working our way on the other side there. Tucking right up to the edge. Amazing. Let's get that tucked in a bit at the top. There is some give here when it comes to the spacing. Not a whole lot, but there is some. Alright, let's cut around the Audi logo right here. So I'm going to push down nice and tight around it. And I'm actually going to snap a blade off at this point in my blade box. There we go. Last thing I want to do is destroy this carbon fiber, so it's just too beautiful. It's a lot of nice craftsmanship went into that. So again, I'm just going to work, trying to press too hard with my tool, but work the film to the edge slightly. I'm going to pull back the film now that I've cut it around, so I can tuck right up to the bottom edge of this logo. And right here I need to cut it around this side still. With this kind of cutting, you can actually see why it's so important to have a really sharp blade, right? So let's take it our time. We can get in there and tuck all afterwards. Finish up all the edges, clean everything up. I like to use two hands on the blade sometimes. It helps control, creates a bit more stability. It's cutting around those tight corners that are really tricky. Yeah, that should be good. Take my time removing it. Done. What I'll do afterwards is I'll go over with the buffer side first, and then I'll go over with the hard edge of the squeegee afterwards. Let's do here. Just use my fingernail there to get it tight. That can work too. I don't really have much fingernails, but it does work. Just kind of take our time. This is a nice gap here. I like it. It's very smooth. Blade cuts very effortlessly. Bingo. Go to the bottom there. Just lift it. Take it out. Alright, so find the bottom edge down here. Cut that off right at the bottom edge. So don't need to go more than that. We're not stretching the film to any edges here. I have a little excess film still up here that didn't get tucked in. Just trim that out. Perfect. And then we're going to pull it slightly down around the inlay. Doesn't require a lot of stretching, just a tiny bit. Just pulling the film tight, really. I'm going to cut that off. Let's do it. When we score the film, we can actually tear down the line. It's really not that bad at all. Alright, let's cut out our control system or whatever the heck this thing is. Media player. Again, we don't want to push too far in. We could damage something. So blade control, very important. Starting at the top here. Let's try and find that gap. There it is. Okay, let's come in under this silver trim piece here that's there. Cut off at the edge. Everything's black under here, so I mean you can cut it off at the edge. You're not going to show any color. Even the carbon fiber looks like, kind of looks poopy down the on the inside there. So just keep that in mind. They didn't even do the carbon fiber on a car that costs brand new like 150 grand, all the way around the edge. So you do what you can as far as your ability goes. At the same time, it's a little bit rough in there, so I don't want to actually try to tuck the film around. What will happen is the film will just end up lifting because it doesn't have very high tack. Let's get this off. Beauty. I got some fingerprints on it and stuff like that. I'll have to go over with a bit of heat and clean up some edges here. We'll do that. I'm going to grab the heat gun. At this point right here, I'm going to add a little bit of heat. Use my finger and use the buffer side of the squeegee mostly. Then I'll use the hard edge to tuck in certain more difficult areas. We don't want to heat too much. That's important to remember. So right here, I've got to shave a little bit of film off. I've got a little bit too much extra coming around this edge. Let's get rid of it. There we go. Same thing over here. Good. Too much heat can burn the film. Keep that in mind. The buffer side is usually really good as an initial approach because it keeps things more rounded and smoother right off the bat. Sometimes you don't even need to use the hard edge of the squeegee. The buffer is enough. Right here it's a little bit tighter. I just kissed the film with a bit of heat, nothing crazy. Work the film around. This is not the easiest film in the world to do this with, guys. So if you're doing this with like, you know, satin black or brushed metal or whatever, I mean, it's going to be a little bit easier. This is difficult to do with this type of film. Get some heat around the backside there. That's pretty good. Once I'm all finished with all this, I'm going to wipe it down, get all the fingerprints off. Guys, I do hope this video was informative and helpful. If it was, don't forget to hit the like button. Again, don't forget to check out my new website, ckwraps.com, for exclusive content, discussion board, location board, fun giveaways. We're giving a $500 gift card away, sponsored by Vvivid, and I'm giving away 5 $100 gift cards myself. On top of that, yeah, just check it out. Anyways, I appreciate you watching. Thank you very much. Take care.